I know where the chapters 6 and 7 Dark Worlds will be. Hello everybody, welcome to my first Deltarune Theory video. And today, I believe I know where 6 and 7 will take place. Now, the evidence I'm going to use for this video is Undertale itself. Why? Well, we know now that Deltarune is inexorably linked to Undertale. We see this in the weird route with the punch card, in the breadcrumbs, with Sans meta knowledge. We have all these references in chapter 5, all the chapters. And we know for a fact that Deltarune is Undertale's parallel story. 7 chapters, 7 areas in Undertale. But I don't believe in the reverse Undertale theory completely. I believe that each chapter is based off of an area of Undertale, but we haven't gotten the right order yet. So, that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to put them in the right order, and from there, we'll know where the 6 and 7 Dark Worlds will take place, based off of context clues and evidence from Chapter 5 and the previous chapters. Now, let's go chapter by chapter, and I'll explain why I put the area of Delta and Undertale to that chapter of Deltarune. Chapter 1 is going to be the ruins. Originally, I thought that chapter 3 could make for the ruins, but given the introductory themes of the ruins and chapter 1, it makes sense that chapter 1 was closer linked to the ruins than chapter 3, not just because of the tutorial connection. Chapter 2 is going to be the core. This is because both the core and the side world are very technologically heavy. Tech heavy, I should say. They both involve a great use of technology and cyber mechanics. And then we have chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a bit difficult to categorize, but I believe it's the Hotlands. The Hotlands makes sense to me because of the boards in Tenna's minigame and Ram's minigame, or the Shadow Mantle minigame. They both have desert themes to them. And when I think of the desert, I think very hot, like the Hotlands. This is also a very goofy chapter with Tenna. In the Hotlands, on the pacifist route, it gets very goofy with all the calls from Alphys. Chapter 4 is Waterfall. There are a lot of references to water, such as the multiple fountains throughout the chapter and the hidden room behind the fountain. And also, Waterfall has Gerson, and chapter 4 is Gerson. And then chapter 5 would be Asger's castle, because of the Flower Castle. That's where the king resides, the bed of flowers, where Flowey came into existence, and where Flowery came into existence. So that just leaves 2 areas. Snowdin and the True Lab. We know for a fact that chapter 6 is going to be an ice-themed chapter. Aside from the references when Noelle is playing the game with Rudy about the mage leaving the party and casting the ice spell to the ice queen or whatever, we also have Icy. Icy is in Snowdin in Undertale. Icy is referenced multiple times in Deltarune and is foreshadowed to be a part of chapter 6. Not even that, the ice connections go further. But let's stop right there for a second. What place in Deltarune is the most ice associated? Well, there are 3 places in mind, I should say. The Holiday Manor, the Icy Restaurant, and the hospital. I'm going to rule out the Icy Restaurant because there's not a lot of thematic reasoning for going there. I'm also going to rule out the Holiday Manor because let me explain to you my reasoning. Noelle's going to enter the Dark World. She's going to learn about how to create Dark Worlds and how they work, and then she's going to create one to extend Rudy's life. That's what makes the most sense, considering that Rudy is the closest to Noelle, and Noelle probably doesn't want her to go and deal with Carol by herself. The Holiday Manor can work, and it is possible that we have multiple Dark Worlds this chapter to signify the coming of the Roaring, but at the same time, the Holiday Manor doesn't make sense thematically. Why would Noelle go there and make a Dark World? So, it leaves us with the hospital. The hospital while it might not seem to have ice theme connections, does have Rudy, who I believe is also going to be linked with Ice Magic we see with Noel, considering the whole family is themed around Christmas, reindeers, snow. Also, we learned from chapters 4 and 5 that Dark Worlds are heavily Psyche based. The reason why the second Sanctuary was different is because Susie's theme of mind at the time she made the Dark Fountain. Given this, it would make sense why the chapter 6 Dark World would be ice themed if made by Noelle, because that's her psyche. She's very ice correlated. So this means that chapter 6, related to Snowdin, gonna have Icy, Hospital, ice themed, which does kind of line up with one of the boards and the Shadow Mantle minigame in chapter 3, using the ice key, and then we get the shelter key. I'm not going to go too heavy into this, but if chapter 6 really is ice themed, that means that it could line up with the Shadow Mantle minigame with chapter 7. We get the ice key, unlocking some sort of ice palace maybe in chapter 6, and then we get the shelter key. And considering that we need one more code to enter the shelter, this could be where the Shadow Mantle minigame comes into place. So, what does that mean for chapter 7? Well, there's only one area left in Undertale after I linked all of them, and that's the True Lab. True Lab bunker, I think it's fairly obvious. It could also be the lake, but I think that's more depths Gaster related than the True Lab is, even though the True Lab is Gaster related. But I think the bunker makes more sense, because that's where everything is going to culminate. That's our goal as the heroes. And well, that's really it. Quick, fast, easy. My first theory. I believe it's correct, but as always, I'm trying to take a more narrative look at Deltarune rather than focusing on the esoteric or small things. I'll make more theories in the future based on what ideas come to mind, but let me know how you like this one.